So I think it's time to actually move away from restaurants and get into our next guest.
Yay!
Okay. Welcome, Alyssa Wolven from the Balboa Park Trust at the San Diego Foundation.
Thank you for having me, Barry. Thank you, Andrea.
Great. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing. What is the Balboa Park Trust at the San Diego Foundation all about?
The Balboa Park Trust is an endowment fund at the San Diego Foundation. We've been in existence since the late 70s, and we manage millions of dollars that have been set aside by private individuals and a few corporations to help preserve, protect, and promote the interests of Balboa Park itself. That is the heart of the park rather than the individual institutions.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Balboa Park, when you think, I mean, I come from Philadelphia originally. When you think of San Diego, you think of Balboa Park. I mean, there's lots of other things, but really Balboa Park is the history of our city.
It's the heart of the city.
Yeah.
In many ways.
The gem.
So when you say the park itself and not the institutions, what do you mean by that?
Well, the institutions are carried by the people who are passionate about the institution. Underlying all of those, the museums, et cetera, the arts and cultural
like the Old Globe.
Exactly, the Old Globe, the zoo. We take care of the park. The park
itself.
The park itself. So the buildings of the park, the infrastructure, and
the grounds.
The grounds, yes, and also some of the entertainment things that come to the park. For example, December nights.
One of the most phenomenal and well-known events in San Diego. Yeah, that just, I think it's better every year.
It sure does.
Yeah, so that's what you guys take care of, and you take care of it through money that's been given to the foundation specifically to be set aside for Balboa Park. Do I have that correct?
You do. We're trying to preserve the park's grounds, building, and infrastructure, and it's been increasingly challenging to maintain.
Why is that?
We know that the budget constraints that we've had in the past few years or the past maybe decades has continued to reduce the amount of money that we've had for the park while the needs in the park continue to grow. We have so much deferred maintenance in the park. It's really shocking if you were to see that. Most of us will drive through the park, walk through the park. What a beautiful place this is.
Right.
And the city has really done an excellent job in keeping our crown jewel shining. Mm-hmm. But beneath all of that, we have a crumbling infrastructure, just like we do in many other aspects.
Like bridges and roads and things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing because you're right on. I mean, when you go there and you drive around or walk around, I was just there recently at a restaurant there, and it's so beautiful there. You don't really notice. You guys have done a good job of hiding what needs to be done.
Well, we didn't do it single-handedly, but certainly we try to do our part, and and I feel that we've made a meaningful impact. Thank you.
Yeah.
Probably you have some more challenges coming up with the water restrictions and things like that to make sure the park's maintained and looks as gorgeous as it does.
Yes, absolutely. As you all know, the governor has asked us all to reduce water usage by 25% when we're looking at something like Balboa Park, which is really a verdant area. You look at all of the trees, the grass.
It's like an oasis in the middle of a desert town in some ways, because you get off our beaches and you go a little bit inland, and we're very much deserty in some ways. Yeah. But here in the center of our city is just this lush, beautiful oasis, and it just means so much to the citizens here and the residents and even visitors.
Yeah.
Visitors come here, and not even just to the zoo, but visitors love to come here and just walk around. And we have a lot of festivals and events that go on there weekly.
There's amazing stuff goes on at Balboa Park every day. It's not a matter of every week. It's every day stuff goes on there. So, I'm going to ask you, what could our listeners do to help out? I mean, what do we want to tell our listeners to help out with keeping Balboa Park up?
Well, directly with the Balboa Park Trust, there are a number of opportunities. For example, our board is comprised fully of volunteers. We do have an administrator that we have some time allotted to us from the San Diego Foundation, but generally people like myself and my other committee members, we do this on a volunteer basis. We're all very well versed in what's happening in the park, I'd like to say that we're experts to some degree, although we're not paid for what we do. So there's the volunteer opportunity that exists with the trust. Additionally, and mostly, what I would hope for is that we can find people who have this great passion who would be willing to donate to the Balboa Park Trust at the San Diego Foundation.
Great. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD. Email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com or find our page on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts, Andrea Kay and Urban Miaris. And our guest is Alyssa Wolven from the Balboa Park Trust at the San Diego Foundation. So you are always looking for volunteers, correct?
We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for time, talent, and treasure.
Time, talent, and treasure.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good tagline. How long have you been involved with the trust, and how did you get involved?
I became involved with the trust about 8 years ago. What happened for me, I moved back to 6th Avenue after moving away for a couple of years out into the hills of San Diego, came back to the area that I love so much, and I noticed that in the park there were some needs which stuck out like a sore thumb. So what I did, I investigated those personally, took pictures, went around trying to find help through the rangers, the San Diego Police Department, whoever would listen. I formed a community group called the Balboa Park West Advisory Group, which was very well attended. If I recall correctly, the very first meeting we had over 100 people in attendance.
Wow.
I've gone door to door with a good friend of mine, Janet Fairbanks, who unfortunately has passed away since then. But Janet and I went door to door for many blocks, 6th, 5th, 4th Avenue, 1st Avenue, and we asked people to come listen to what we had to say. We discussed the problems, and we proposed some solutions. In the audience that I was speaking to that day were a couple of members of the Balboa Park Trust. They came to me afterwards, and basically they said to me, look, you've identified these problems. We have the means to take care of these problems if we can work together. So they asked me to become involved, and I did. My very first project was the Balboa Park Trails project, which anyone who visits the park probably has seen examples of. You'll see the trail markers in each corner of the park. You'll see the topographical map indicating that it's a trailhead or a gateway, and there you can consult that map and learn about the different trails, if it's easy or if it's a difficult trail, the length of the trail. We've put this in place. Really, my objective was to bring positive use into some of the less used areas of the park and to displace some of the negative use. And to increase the park patrons' safety, we did an extensive underbrush clearing, litter clearing. We pulled out, I forget the number, but we pulled out hundreds of tons of trash and non-native species. So we've really brought this back to what it was like for Kate Sessions after her plantings have had a good chance to take root. And if you were to visit the trails, one of my favorite trails is the one which runs just west of the 163, parallel to the 163. That's called the Bridal Trail, not because there have been brides down there, which I'm sure there have, but because it was a horse trail. I've seen it misspelled. Anyhow, if you take the Bridal Trail from, say, the Marston House area at 6th and Upis, and you take that, it's about a mile-long trail all the way down to the Pine Grove picnic area, which is near Juniper and Balboa Drive, or Balboa Avenue. There you will be walking through a redwood grove, which was planted by the Redwood Growers Association back in the 1915 fair, if I remember correctly. There's also a fragrant pine grove. You can't help but fall in love with it as you walk through there. And you sort of have to turn a blind eye to the other side of the fence, the 163, which I can easily do, looking at all of the beautiful trees. Call me a tree hugger. I am.
Hey, I think we all are. Who doesn't, we don't have enough lusciousness around San Diego. So it's just something to just really, really enjoy. And I love that, making use of every part of the park. And I love the fact that you as a citizen saw an opportunity to get involved, saw something that you could, improve upon in our beautiful city. And now look what you've done.
Well, thank you. Thank you
and
for
you brought all these
that.
volunteers together to help you. That's a marvelous thing.
Do you have a major project you're working on now or planning on?
I wouldn't say it's a major project. We have a number of projects that we're working on. One of the most recent, the city came to us and they have a program called the Adopt a Plot program. This was before the governor's mandate of 25% water reduction. But what we're doing for the centennial of the Panama California Exposition is different groups are adopting different areas of the park, well-viewed areas, well-used areas, and we're adopting a few of those plots, and we'll be doing some extensive planting in those areas. So that's one of the projects that we're working on right now, and we've done some great projects in the past that sometimes they're sexy projects and sometimes they're unsexy projects, and we like to say that we're willing to do these non-sexy projects for the benefit of the park. And one example that I like to use is that we took all of the ugly old dented up metal trash cans. For those of you who've been around a while in San Diego, you'll remember these ugly old trash cans that were all over the park, and we've replaced those with some beautiful trash cans, as you'll see now. So as trash cans go, they are sexy.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's what's the old saying? It's all in the details. And, a detail like that can make a huge difference in an experience.
Sure.
When you go into something like Balboa Park. Now, let's talk a little bit about the infrastructure and the buildings themselves, because some of those have been around quite a while. And how do you make sure that they're maintained without losing their architectural integrity and beauty?
Well, I was speaking to one of the guests over in your green room before they went on to your show. The gentleman was really stunned. He wasn't aware that most of the original structures were only put up as temporary structures for the exposition. So they were straw bale and stucco structures meant to come down after only a couple of years. There were exclusions to that. For example, what's now the Museum of Man, the California Tower, which, by the way, has recently reopened. So if you've ever wanted to get up into that tower, now you can.
Oh, fun.
So that's really exciting to me. But so, a few of the buildings were meant to stay, but really the vast majority of those buildings were meant to crumble and go away.
See, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
It was only by the love of fellow San Diegans over the decades which has allowed us to keep these structures. What happened with those were molds, I guess they're called, were made of the facades of the building, of various parts of the building. Then the building was destroyed and then rebuilt, looking exactly as it did, before. So without missing a beat, really, all of those old straw bale buildings have been turned into permanent buildings.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we are starting to run short on time. If you can tell our listeners how they can find out more about the Balboa Park Trust, you have a website, or where do we get more information?
Yes, certainly. You can contact the San Diego Foundation and ask to speak to our administrator, Vi Nguyen, at the Balboa Park Trust. And I would ask that everyone look deep inside their heart about what they love the most about the Balboa Park Trust, and please endow your passions. It doesn't have to be a gift right now. It can be a legacy gift, as most of ours are. So by using a life insurance policy, real estate holdings that you have, or, of course, capital that you'd like to put in. These funds you can use this for a specific area that you're passionate about, or you can leave these up to the people like myself who consider themselves experts to some degree. Great. And have us use it for our highest and best needs at those times.
Great. Wonderful.
Great.
I love it.
What? It's awesome. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
One of our treasures.
Yes, absolutely. The heart of the city.
That's it. So this is a close-up on San Diego business here on KCBQ, streaming live at am1170theanswer.com. But send us a tweet at CloseUpSD or just find us on Facebook. You can always email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com. Let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, and we will be right back after a word from our sponsors.